what was the most intense moment of our competition so far. And to that, I would have to give it to our first match in prelims, where it was fresh. Our driver here didn't even get a chance to drive beforehand. Nope. And we just basically were just flying blind, and we managed to actually launch the opposing bot up in the air and opened up the front of the front ramp like a can of tuna. So it was a really good moment, and we were losing because they were pinning us, but we managed to squeak out a win. It was a very good moment, very feel good.
I'm here to share one of my most intense experiences with BotsIQ, and honestly that has to be my very first competition about 2 years back when we were competing for the bot for the very first time. And my favorite part was when our bot got whacked really good and we were kind of losing but just had that edge on them, and we had to take our bot down, and it was like the NASCAR pit lane, just taking the bolts out. We went downstairs and was hammering on the titanium trying to get it back in shape, and honestly it was just a blast, and we had, like, the battery was like burning hot. It was just so fun.
One problem that we've overcome through this whole process is both competitions, both our LED lights don't work in the beginning, so we spend at least like 30-ish minutes fixing them.
So my biggest takeaway is team management and making sure that everyone has something to do so we're all productive and we can get done with things very quickly. Because in competition, or before competitions, we'd find out we were very rushed. So we had to split as much teamwork up as possible.
For us, it was our last competitions at prelims. Our very first, was it our first or second fight we were in?
First.
It was our very first fight. As soon as we get in there, one of the very first hits we got completely chopped our weapon motor in half, meaning we were not able to use our weapon motor for that fight. So then after, when we got out, we only have like a certain set amount of time for us to be able to fix it for the next competition, like the next round. We really did not have enough time to do anything, so we had to take the bot apart, figure out how to put the new motor in. When we got the new motor in, we found out that the wires were way too short, so we had to figure out a way to force it into the battery. And it was a huge mess, because then by the time we had to go and do the safety check, we did not even have the bot completely together. So we were putting it together as we were walking over for the safety inspection.
What we would say to a friend if we needed to convince them to join BotsIQ. She's brand new. She's joining us next year for an all-girls team for our school. And basically what I said to her was that it's a really fun experience. You get to do a lot of cool different things, designing, manufacturing, some documents as well. And then you get to see robots fight and battle and sparks and whatever else that happens in each battle. It's a lot of fun to watch.
The main thing that I would take away from BotsIQ is the experience that I've had working with people. So a majority of what I've done is managing the team and making sure everyone, gets along smoothly and the robot gets built, essentially. I did some of the detail work this year, but primarily I've just been, arranging things and managing things, and it's really helped in other aspects of my life. In terms of every aspect, really. Anytime I have to work with people, these experiences stick with me. So it's a huge deal for me. It's also been really fun.
My favorite thing I seen inside of a machine shop was the big machining, because of, we built our bot inside garage to Green County homeschoolers. So we really don't mess with a lot of machinery.
Well, I think definitely one of our most difficult moments after a battle was getting through safety again, because we have all those repairs to make.
Yep.
And
new motor.
it took 20 minutes, and then our repaired part didn't even work after the fact, and we lost prelims.
Definitely trying to get that together and working it out before time so we won't be disqualified.
At prelims at the WCTC, or WCCC, my bad, we were in finals, and it was our second bout because we had lost our first one, and we were completely out of time. We were 20 minutes had gone by, and we should have forfeited. But our other team, Eastern Westmoreland CTC, Ken Petter's whole group, gave us extra time. And that helped us go together and actually win that prelims, which gave us the second place spot in the bracket here. So we were all obviously pretty in an intense spot that whole time. So
a time my team had to overcome an issue was our motors weren't working. So we had to figure out if the issue was with a wire or in the motors itself. So we started switching around wires and checking those. It turns out they weren't connected properly, and we fixed those.
During the preliminary competition, our team came across a problem with our front wheel drive shafts where every time we came up or got thrown in the air and came back down, they would just shatter and we'd have to maneuver around. And the way we overcame this problem was by literally just grabbing a bolt block, cutting it off, and getting a longer bolt to fit through, and we just jerry-rigged it for the competition.
We had multiple problems with our robot. One that we just currently dealt with was it was shorting out, and we need to figure it out. So we took apart our robot, and we took apart the drive ESC and the weapon ESC, and we put it back together multiple times, and that helped us out a little bit there. And then we also had to figure out a weapon constraint because we didn't have a weapon constraint at prelims. So we contacted our industry sponsor, and they helped us put together a weapon constraint that was very useful and reliable.
So this year at prelims, we had a problem with our switch, and I think we went through probably at least 3 switches with cracking them and stripping the screws and stuff. And we had a mounting problem, but even though it was really stressful, we came together and both teams were able to help work together and solve the problem.
What is one thing you will take away from your BotsIQ experience? For me personally, it's been just the skills I've learned this year. It's my first year on the team, so before the school year started, I can't say I knew how to use a drill or how to tap holes or how to wire a robot and solder. So that's something I've really enjoyed learning. I'd really like to thank BotsIQ for this opportunity. Prelims was amazing, and I've learned so much about manufacturing, the jobs that are offered, the industry. I've had a great time.
The day before prelims, our parts that we sent out to be manufactured just got finished the day before. So we had to put the bot together that night and the morning of at RMU for the prelims. So we never got a total check on weight. We never were able to get like a solid build, and we had to take screws out. We had to just take a lot. It was like 15.3 pounds, so we had to take a lot off. We took the back plate off. It was UHMW at the time, and that took off a lot. Then we had to take some screws out. So in place of screws, we added zip ties just because they're lighter, so we still had some support. But it was real intense because we were one of the first matches. We had to use our 20-minute grace period right then and there to get everything together. Our bot was built so the compactivity of the bot was like a very very important feature. So when we built it, we weren't able to really take into account just yet the wiring, the batteries. We were able to sketch it all out, but we didn't know how everything would pack in. So we really had to spend a lot of time on packing it in and getting it perfect so our wires wouldn't stick out.
During the preliminary competition, during our competition during the fight, a lot of times our pulley just flew off because we were using a plastic pulley. A lot of the time we needed to replace that between matches, which was a very stressful few minutes. But we decided during the month that we had between the preliminary competition and now, we redesigned the pulley, and we are hopefully not going to have any problems today.
As for my number one takeaway from my BotsIQ experience, I'd say just introduction to the manufacturing industry in general is what mainly got me into engineering, which is what I want to major in college. I think I've also learned a lot about working under pressure, especially in the pits with the competitions.
And the one thing that I learned, I think, is how to deal with the manufacturing process as well, because I want to go into mechanical engineering, and I really enjoyed doing CAD over my 3 years in BotsIQ. So that's how I found out what I want to do.
If I could take one thing away, it would definitely be I have a lot more problem-solving abilities, and I can work on a better time frame now that I've experienced what it's like to work on a time crunch.
Whenever touring a local manufacturing business, probably the amount of machinery and how complex they are. That's what really I found cool the most, especially with how clean they actually kept the facility overall.
And it was, what's one problem that your team overcame? We were throwing a bunch of batteries and blowing up a bunch of batteries with our one bot, so we had to put a regulator in there. and it's fixed our problem.
Describe a time when your team overcame a problem in BotsIQ. After prelims, one of our bots was unusable, so we had a little over a month and a half to completely redesign a bot and have it in working order for finals.
What was the coolest thing you saw when you toured a local manufacturer? Our local manufacturer is Carclo. They are a really cool manufacturing company. They manufacture plastics. There's plastics, metals, all kinds of stuff. But it's all mainly automated by robots. There's people there, but at the same time, there's still robots there that need to be watched. And it's really cool because my team and I got to see how stuff was made.
If a friend were to ask me why they should join BotsIQ, I would honestly tell them that it's just extremely fun, and no matter whether you win or lose, you just have an amazing amount of fun. If you like seeing big hits and sparks fly, it's probably one of the best things you can do.
So the question I was asked was to describe a time when my team overcame a problem in BotsIQ. And what really comes to mind was in our preliminary competition, we had a really rough fight. We were completely beat up. Our systems were down. We had no idea even what was going on. And for the first time, we all worked in tandem completely as a team in the pits, got our bot completely disassembled, redoing our wiring, redoing our frame and our armor systems. And we were actually able to put together our entire bot in under 30 minutes and go on to win our next match.
Describe one of your most intense moments from a BotsIQ competition. Leading up to the prelims, we were overweight, and so we had to eliminate our weapon. So that just cut us down to a wedge bot, and we did really good. Turns out a wedge bot does really good, and it was pretty intense because we didn't know if it'll work or not, because we saw all the other bots having a weapon of some sort, and we were just there with a basic wedge.
So one of the big problems that we came across and we were able to overcome was, so since we manufacture everything in-house ourselves using a Haas CNC, we have to learn it ourselves as well. And a few of our team members have had incidents where the Haas went down for extended periods of time. So that really set us behind schedule. And the only thing we could really do at that time was plan ahead and come up with ways to get around that. So what we did during that time was we actually redesigned our whole bot from the ground up to be more compact, so that we could meet weight while also having more armor. And that's how we were able to overcome that challenge, and we came out better than whenever we started.
So our question was, what would you say to a friend to convince them to join BotsIQ? Honestly, I would just say the reason I would say to join and why I joined is because of the community people that you meet and the opportunities that it gives you, and really just big on the community.
I completely agree with Katie saying, like, it's just a giant family that we have here on the bots team. There's not just one job for somebody to do. Like, there's such an array of like supporting factors that come into making a bot, and there's not one job that I feel is more important than the other, and every single person just comes together, and it's just nice to have a little group that comes together and does stuff together.
What would you say to a friend to convince them to join BotsIQ? Robots, man.
We're going to be describing an issue we had with our robot, and this goes back to prelims and yesterday. Is an issue with our weapon is we have bolts running through it that attach to a pulley system, but the bolts, anytime we hit another opponent's robot, they'll shear off, and we've been trying to find a way to fix it, use stronger bolts. Some reason it just never seems to work, and we came up with an impromptu solution at prelims where we made a sort of wedge bot attachment where we can switch out the weapon if it gets messed up or anything and stops working. So we made a wedge bot attachment so we can make, we basically improvised a wedge bot attachment for our robot so that if our weapon messes up, we can still go in. And just yesterday, we came up with a solution to our initial weapon problem, and we made a keyway where we cut slots into the pulley and the weapon, and we ran a drill bit through there so that way that'll take the shear pressure off of the bolts and it'll be put onto there.
I was asked what would I say to convince someone to join the BotsIQ for our team. It's a very fun experience. Get to hang out with your friends. It's very easygoing. We joke around a lot. At our school, at our high school, it's a Class you can take 3 years each year for a full elective credit, and it's just an overall fun and amazing experience to be able to come to Cal U or 3Cs or wherever we may go and get to watch all this happen.
One thing I can take away from this, I'm sure that we can take away from this, is our teamwork and ability to work together as a group and to accomplish our goals.
Our industry sponsor is getting big into like some of the automation and using robotics to improve the things. One of the coolest things we kind of saw there was the robotic welder. They had like so many different welders in a row, and they could all go down and work on different parts independently at once. And just seeing the showers of sparks from so many welders going at once, and nobody even around, just the one technician handling it, that was just kind of awesome to see.
My most intense moment of BotsIQ was probably when the batteries didn't work like the day before the competition, out of just like nowhere. To fix the problem, we made more battery packs out of 1-cell batteries because we didn't have time to order new ones.
When our team overcame a problem, BotsIQ was definitely our batteries. Last year, we tried to use just plain old drill batteries, and they blew up, they started smoking, they fired. So me and my teacher, we went to this class where we learned how to make battery packs, and we went back to the school. We got the resources, bought all the resources, got the little cells for the batteries, we put them together, we tested them. Sometimes they didn't work, so we had to rebuild them. And sometimes it did work, but this is our last battle. One started smoking. So we will have to go back and decide what to do for next year.
The one thing I took away from BotsIQ was mainly teamwork, leadership skills, communication skills. It's honestly very important for all this kind of stuff that you need, especially if you're working with a team with people, because if you don't have those good soft skills, then you're never going to be able to work well with your team.
Just the on-hands experience, we learned a lot about machining, engineering, circuit design, electrical engineering, a bunch of that stuff, even how to use tools. I mean, I learned how to solder doing BotsIQ. Yeah, what do you?
Yeah, mainly like circuit design, programming the controller, and having everything communicate together and work together.
Yeah, yeah, just overall problem solving, that too. And like you said, working with a team, and to problem solve with a team too, which can be tough sometimes, but yeah, just expressing your ideas, working with a bunch of ideas and picking out the best one.
One experience that we've taken away from BotsIQ, at least for me, is I've learned to be persistent with it, keep going through it, and if something gets you down, just get back up, go through it, and figure out your problems on the way through. That you're going to run into them.
What I've kind of like taken away from BotsIQ is just that teamwork is the most important thing you can ever have when it comes to literally anything. Like, if you don't work as a team, you will not have your bot in time, and you just will not ever win a single match.
Challenge that we faced was probably during any BotsIQ competition, was probably during the preliminary round. Our first match, our weapon motor burnt out, and it was our second time ever replacing the weapon motor, and we had to do it in under 15 minutes so that we could, get through the safety inspection in 20 minutes. So we had to work as a team to figure out how to get it done, and we were fortunately able to get it through and fixed in time.
We just want to thank BotsIQ for bringing this opportunity to both of us. I know class would have been a whole lot boring throughout the course of this year if we just sat there, just done our classwork. So it's provided great opportunities, even here, just learning how to do everything and working as a team. That's something we've all struggled with the entire year, and I think we're finally wrapping up on that.
And I would say the most intense moment in the BotsIQ competitions would have to be the fight against Plum. The fight against Plum was very challenging, yet quick, because their weapon was able to pick us up and throw us in the span of just a couple seconds of the fight starting. So
We're also a really good team, and we're kind of rookies, so that was pretty intimidating as well.
Definitely very. It just felt like it was like a suitable moment for us to actually see what we were going up against, and it was just very intense for all of us.
yeah, we also had a lot of damage caused by them to repair, so that would also add to the factor of the challenge of the fight.
We have one thing that we will take away from our BotsIQ experience, and that is definitely our ability to work together and the skills we gained in teamwork. And really, if anyone in our team has issues working on anything, we can really work together, get problem solved, and these skills they'll help us in manufacturing in the future. And we're very thankful for the BotsIQ and all of the sponsors.
So one big problem we had during today is in our first bout we had an issue with our weapon system. The pulley connected to the motor had machined off and took the wall that holds the belt on with it. So what we did is we took some coins and some bottle caps and made washers in order to hold the belt in.
So one of the most stressful parts during the competition was this morning during the losers bracket when our weapon decided it didn't want to function anymore, and we had to frantically try every possibility to fix it, which it went from switching out the weapon motor to cutting down the weapon itself to make it lighter, and then opening up the broken motor and then tinkering with it to try and even fix it to get it back to working condition. And it came down to the seconds where we had to go through safety inspection quickly and then immediately compete. But in the end, we got it working and won the match right after that.
A time when my team overcame a problem was at prelims, where the code for our weapon and drive system was reversed and messed up, and we had to fix it all before we had to forfeit.
And probably one of the most intense moments we've ever had here, or I've ever had, would be at prelims, whenever our first match. It was the first match I ever went to, and we had our weapon spin the wrong way, so it flung us all around, and one of the times when we came around, we hit their back, took out all their internals. I just thought it was really cool.
I think my most difficult part about BotsIQ was trying to get our butt done 2 days before states here. It was so hectic. We had to stay down for like almost every single class of school just to get it all done.